Hey Reset, welcome back to week 2 of our life group series on how to study the Bible. And we're doing this because this is a pretty common question that we get in the church. As mentioned last week, just a quick recap, the Bible it's weird in our day. It's written strangely. It's written 2,000 and 3,000 years ago and on the other side of the world. And even in its day, it was doing things from a literary perspective that a lot of other literature wasn't doing, that Israel's neighbors weren't doing. So last week we looked primarily at contexts, the social and literary. And this week we're looking mostly at genre. And we're also looking at what this passage tonight says about the relationship between God and people. So genre just refers to the type of text that we're reading. A newspaper is a pretty good example of where you can go to find all kinds of different genres. You've got reviews of movies and restaurants and political and social reporting, comics and opinion pieces. And we approach different genres in a newspaper with different expectations. We don't expect to find political reporting in a film review, for example. We don't expect to find objective reporting in an op-ed piece. So fiction and nonfiction are the broadest categories of, the broadest genres, but we have some smaller genres too, some more specific ones like science fiction and fantasy and memoir, autobiography, all that stuff. And the Bible is also chock full of many different genres. The most common genre in the Bible is narrative, which relates events and the people that are involved and the places where these things happen and the conflicts that they go through. The Bible has plenty of poetry in it. Prophecy is another genre. Theophany, which is an appearance of God. We've got letters in the New Testament. Gospels, apocalypse, which is a revealing of something, of usually divine knowledge. So tonight's text is Psalm 123, and its broad genre is poetry. And to get more specific, it's actually lyric poetry, like a song. It probably was not accompanied by musical instruments. It was a song of ascents, which could mean one of two things. It could mean that worshipers sang this song as they were going up to the temple or possibly even synagogue. Or it could also mean that Hebrew people sang this song as they journeyed back to Jerusalem after their captivity in Babylon. Or it could mean both. The raw material could very well come from the humiliation that some of God's people suffered in captivity in Babylon, or it could come from the humiliation that this psalmist and his community suffered at the hands of their fellow Hebrews. So speaking of this word humiliation, to get even more specific with genre in Psalm 123, it is a lament. And it was a song lament. Most of the times in church, when we sing praise and gratitude and things like that. But the most common type of psalm is actually the lament. The lament happens when a psalmist has a serious complaint to take up with God. There's always this dire real-life situation behind a lament, and a very common one is that a psalmist is suffering abuse at the hands of enemies. So even though complaint characterizes the lament, the psalmists also always express their reliance upon God, their faithfulness to God in a lament. So what's the takeaway here? When the psalmist and his community that he represents before God in Psalm 123 are repeatedly humiliated, it's a violation of the image of God. That's why this is a big deal. So being created in the image of God means that everybody has God-given dignity and everybody deserves to be treated with respect. Psalm 123 assures us that we can take this kind of problem to God and expect God to act on our behalf. Just as you'll about to see, servants in the day of the psalmist could take their problems to their masters and expect their masters to act on their behalf. And now, you're going to go read Psalm 123. It's a short one. and tried two different translations. I recommend the NIV and the Message. Then I've got two sets of discussion questions for you. One is on genre, to see how well you were paying attention the last few minutes. And the other is on the text itself and the relationship between God and people as we see it in Psalm 123. Enjoy the drama of knowledge, enjoy one another's company, and try to enjoy the text.